to Torah. Today we're looking at Leviticus 6 and 7. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, when a person sins and commits a trespass against the Lord by deceiving his fellow citizen in regard to something held in trust or a pledge or something stolen by extorting something from his fellow citizen, or has something lost and denies it and swears falsely concerning any one of the things that someone might do to sin. When it happens that he sins and he is found guilty, then he must return whatever he had stolen, or whatever he had extorted, or the thing that he had held in trust, or the lost thing that he had found, or anything about which he swears falsely. He must restore it in full and add 1/5 to it. He must give it to its owner when he is found guilty. Then he must bring his guilt offering to the Lord, a flawless ram from the flock, convertible into silver shekels, for a guilt offering to the priest. So the priest will make atonement on his behalf before the Lord, and he will be forgiven for whatever he has done to become guilty. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, command Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the burnt offering. The burnt offering is to remain on the hearth, on the altar, all night until morning, and the fire of the altar must be kept burning on it. Then the priest must put on his linen robe and put on his linen leggings over his bare flesh, and he must take up the fatty ashes of the burnt offering that the fire consumed on the altar, and he must place them beside the altar. Then he must take off his clothes and put on other clothes, and must bring the fatty ashes outside the camp to a ceremonially clean place. But the fire which is on the altar must be kept burning on it. It must not be extinguished. So the priest must kindle wood on it morning by morning, and he must arrange the burnt offering on it and offer the fat of the peace offering up in smoke on it. A continual fire must be kept on burning on the altar. It must not be extinguished. This is the law of the grain offering. The sons of Aaron are to present it before the Lord in front of the altar, and the priest must take up with his hand some of the choice wheat of the grain offering, some of the olive oil, and all of the frankincense that is on the grain offering. And he must offer its memorial portion up in smoke on the altar as a soothing aroma to the Lord. Aaron and his sons are to eat what is left over from it. It must be eaten unleavened in a holy place. They are to eat it in the courtyard of the meeting tent. It must not be baked with yeast. I have given it as their portion from my gifts. It is most holy, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. Every male from among the sons of Aaron may eat it. It is a perpetual allotted portion throughout your generation from the gifts of the Lord. Anyone who touches these gifts must be holy. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, this is the offering of Aaron and his sons, which they must present to the Lord on the day when he is anointed. A tenth of an ephah of choice wheat flour as a continual grain offering, half of it in the morning, half of it in the evening. It must be made with olive oil on a griddle, and you must bring it in well soaked. You must present a grain offering of broken pieces, a soothing aroma to the Lord. The high priest who succeeds him from among his sons must do it. It is a perpetual statute. It must be offered up in smoke as a whole offering to the Lord. Every grain offering of a priest must be a whole offering. It must not be eaten. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons, this is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, the sin offering must be slaughtered before the Lord. It is most holy. The priest who offers it for sin is to eat it. It must be eaten in the holy place, in the court of the meeting tent. Anyone who touches its meat must be holy, and whoever splatters some of its blood on a garment, you must wash whatever he splatters it on is in a holy place. Any clay vessel that it is boiled in must be broken, and if it was boiled in a bronze vessel, that vessel must be rubbed out and rinsed with water. Any male among the priests may eat it. It is most holy. But any sin offering from which some of its blood is brought into the meeting tent to make atonement in the sanctuary must not be eaten. It must be burned up in the fire. Chapter 7. This is the law of the guilt offering. It is most holy. The place where they slaughter the burnt offering, they must slaughter the guilt offering, and the officiating priest must splash the blood against the altar side. Then the one making the offering must present all its fat, the fatty tail, the fat of the covering the entrails, the two kidneys, and the fat on their sinews, and the protruding lobe on the liver, which he must remove along with the kidneys. Then the priest must offer them up in smoke on the altar as a gift to the Lord, as a guilt offering. Any male among the priests may eat it. It must be eaten in a holy place. It is most holy. The law is the same for the sin offering and the guilt offering. It belongs to the priest who makes atonement with it. As for the priest who presents someone's burnt offering, the hide of the burnt offering which he presented them belongs to him. Every grain offering in which it is baked in the oven, made in a pan or on the griddle, belongs to the priest who presented it. Every grain offering, whether mixed with olive oil or dry, belongs to all the sons of Aaron, each one alike. This is the law of the peace offering of sacrifice which is presented to the Lord. If he presents it on account of thanksgiving along with the thank offering sacrifice, he must present unleavened loaves mixed with olive oil, unleavened wafers smeared with olive oil, and well-soaked ring-shaped loaves made with choice wheat flour mixed with olive oil. He must present this grain offering in addition to the ring-shaped loaves of leavened bread which regularly accompany the sacrifice of his thanksgiving peace offering. He must present one of each kind of grain offering as a contribution offering to the Lord. It belongs to the priest who splashes the blood on the peace offering. The meat of his thanksgiving offering must be eaten on the day of his offering. He must not set any of it aside until morning. If his offering is a votive or free will sacrifice, it may be eaten on the day he presents the sacrifice, and also the leftovers from it may be eaten on the next day. But the leftovers from the meat of the sacrifice must be burned up in the fire on the third day. If some of the meat of his peace offering is sacrifice is even eaten on the third day, it will not be accepted. It will not be accounted to the one who presented it, since it is spoiled, and the person who eats it from it will bear his punishment for iniquity. The meat which touches any ceremonially unclean thing must not be eaten. It must be burned up in the fire. As for the ceremonial clean meat, everyone who is ceremonially clean may eat the meat. The person who eats meat from the peace offering sacrifice which belongs to the Lord while his uncleanliness persists will be cut off from his people. When a person touches anything unclean, whether human uncleanliness or an unclean animal or an unclean detestable creature, and eats some of the meat of the peace offering sacrifice which belongs to the Lord, that person will be cut off from his people. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, you must not eat any fat of an ox, sheep, or goat. Moreover, the fat of the animal that has died of natural causes, and the fat of the animal torn by beasts may be used for any other purposes, but you must certainly never eat it. If anyone eats fat from animal which he presents as a gift to the Lord, that person will be cut off from his people. You must not eat any blood of the birds or domestic land animals in any of the places where you live. Any person who eats any blood, that person will be cut off from his people." Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, the one who presents his um, peace offering sacrifice to the Lord, must bring his offerings to the Lord from his peace offering sacrifice. With his own hands he must bring the Lord's gift. He must bring the fat with the breast, and to wave the breast as a wave offering before the Lord. And the priest must offer up the fat in the smoke in the altar, but the breast will belong to Aaron and his sons. And the right thigh you must give as a contribution offering to the priest from peace offering sacrifices. The one from Aaron's son who is present, who presents the blood of the peace offering and the fat, while the right thigh is his share. For the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the contribution offering I have taken from the Israelites out of their peace offering sacrifices, and have given them to Aaron their priest, Aaron the priest, and to his sons from the people of Israel as a perpetual allotted portion. This is the allotment of Aaron, the allotment of his sons from the Lord's gifts on the day Moses presented them as to serve as priests to the Lord. And this is what the Lord commanded to give them from the Israelites on the day Moses anointed them, a perpetual allotment portion throughout their generation. This is the law for the burnt offering, the grain offering, the sin offering, the guilt offering, the ordination offering, the peace offering sacrifice, which the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai, the day which he commanded the Israelites to present their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. Now, one of the things I want to talk about here is how, when we look at the law, a lot of times we think that we have these. So, well, why in the world we got to have these laws? But one of the things that we see here in the beginning of chapter 1, or not chapter 1, chapter 6, in verse 1, is we're reminded that one of the things God is doing is setting up how the people of Israel are to live as a society. These are people who have just been freed from oppression, had not had freedom for quite some time, and now they are going to be their own nation and rule over themselves. So one of the things that this does, giving the law and giving a lot of these regulations, a lot of them have to do with how do we live together as a people? Because honestly, this is a very large group. This is not just Jacob and his 12 sons. That you didn't need, I guess, a strict law that says, okay, this is how you operate, because you would have one person over them. You'd have Jacob, the patriarch. This, you really don't have that. You won't have that very quickly after Moses passes and after Joshua passes. So one of the things that God is doing in giving the law is he's trying to help the people understand how to live. And so that's why there are a lot of stipulations about how we interact with, or the Israelites interacted with each other. And here we see, well, what do you do if someone swears falsely, if they've stolen something that they lie about? How do you make that right? And so there are clear stipulations. Well, if that's found out, then that person has to give it back. But not only that, but then they have to pay restitution. They have to pay a 1/5 of the value of whatever they held, whatever they stole, whatever they found, whatever they lied about. And that's got to be given back to the person. But then they have to make atonement to God as well, because part of the thing is how we treat our fellow man is connected with our relationship with God. And that's one of the things that the law really makes clear. The law can be summed up in depend on God and depend on each other. But how we love God is seen in how we love people. So how we treat other people really is connected with how we view and how we treat our Creator. We can't separate those. And that's one of the big important things to understand when we look at the law, that it's not just a bunch of rules that seem like they're there for no reason. No, there's reasons there, And so we have to understand that. And part of the thing is God wanted to make sure that people were focused on the right path, lived the right way, lived how he created humanity to live before the fall. And that wasn't always the way that humanity wanted to live. And so God made sure to say, this is how you're to live. And when you go outside of this, this is how you go about making it right. And you go about making it right, and it costs you something to make things right. It costs you something to find reconciliation. It's not something that doesn't matter. It's not something that doesn't cost anything. You pay a price for what you've done. And really, if you think about it, it makes sense. You can say, well, I'm sorry, but until you live that out and show that, you really have not made things right. Someone can do the same thing over and over and say, I'm sorry, and it doesn't mean anything. But when they act in a way, they show that there is value in what they say. That's part of what we see here in the law. So just something to think about today. I hope you guys are doing well. Have a wonderful day.